Right, hello there everyone, welcome back to James Redmond TV and welcome to another Redmond Roundup. I want to bring up a pretty horrible old topic in football which has been quite evil to a lot of us, the Super League, because I feel like it can pop up. No one specified what the Super League has to be, no one specified that Perez has to go ahead and put some Viagra in his caviar and then call up his buddies and say, let's make a Super League and let's make loads of money and destroy football as we know it. The difference was that he done it with the entities that we know, the ones that we love. So he decided to get Real Madrid, start this thing and then contact Juventus, Premier League clubs and all these teams to then jump on board with him. That was what the original idea was, the Super League was. Now, the reason why I bring back the title of this video to you is because why does it have to be that to be the Super League? Because I'm not talking about that coming back. There's no news of that coming back. But what is now arisen is the Saudi League. And people don't understand what I mean about how that can be the Super League, opposed to what we originally knew as the Super League. So as we know, Lionel Messi just joined Inter Miami. And Inter Miami have just signed literally the greatest player of all time, who I believe could still do a great job in Europe. And I said this when I was asked the question on a stream previously, that I believe Lionel Messi can come back in a year's time and still mash up work in Europe and still score the most Champions League goals, for instance. And, you know, they're getting a hell of a player there. It just depends if Lionel Messi wants to come back. And let's say if Barcelona fix their situation, then they can bring him back. The reason why I bring up Lionel Messi is because he was linked with Saudi. The reason why I bring up Lionel Messi is because you can never dispute the idea that that team that he goes to in a year's time is not a team that's in Europe. It could be a team that's in Saudi. If that is the case, and I ask this question, and I want to ask the same question to you watching this video. By the way, smash a like if you haven't already. It gets the video out there a little bit more. The question is, if Lionel Messi joined the Saudi League, what would be a bigger game next season in terms of the thing that matters most? Numbers, viewership. Lionel Messi versus Ronaldo in the Saudi League or El Clasico next season, because we know that El Clasico isn't the same, and we know La Liga isn't generating the same numbers, and then we know that that would be a huge game in the Saudi League that I and you will probably watch or at least see something of. So the reason why I asked that question is because if Messi joins that league and then say it's in a year's time, Ronaldo versus Messi, or let's even say they do a madness and get them two on the same team, I'm only opening that box and presenting you the idea of that would generate so many numbers that I could see that beating every league. If you get the biggest match in every league, maybe bar the Premier League, I would suggest that match gets more views than all of them. And maybe I haven't analysed the numbers properly for El Clasicos in recent times. I just could not imagine it generates more interest. But all remains to be seen. And then to add to the point of why I think it'll be a Super League, because you saw they were linked with Lionel Messi. Lionel Messi then opted to go to Inter Miami because he didn't want to go for big bucks. Why is he gone to Inter Miami then? You're onto the way the narrative... I love Lionel Messi and he's the best player of all time. But the narrative right now seems to be Lionel Messi joined Inter Miami. Therefore, he still has passion for the game because he's not selling out for money. I don't think he's not selling out for money. I think he's just moving somewhere where his missus would like to move. And I believe that's what's being said as well, by the way. I don't think it's a case of, oh, I want to keep the passion of football, so I want to go and win the MLS. What's the passion about winning the MLS, with all due respect to Inter Miami and Phil Neville? Anyway, the point that I was going to make was to add to how Saudi are now adding the likes of Kante, Karim Benzema, Cristiano Ronaldo. And right, I want to talk about YouTube boxing. I want to reference it for a second. Not specifically YouTube boxing, but even, you know, just influencer boxing or legends coming back and fighting each other. There's a different realm of boxing which people tune into, and then some of the fights are big, some of them are horrible. And then you see this in the Saudi League. You'll probably watch some games and you think, there's Ronaldo, there's Benzema. But then you'll watch two teams and then they don't have the same superstars. We now know that 4 teams in the Saudi League are owned by the royal family over there, the same people who own Newcastle United. So they are going to now add that influx of cash into these teams. So what I believe will end up being like a mini Super League over there. It's just going to take a little bit of time. I was asked the question, will Saudi be one of the top 5 leagues in the next 5 years? I said it's most certainly a possibility. But then I was asked, would it be a top, you know, could it be the top league ever? And with 15 to 20 years of development and heavy investment, which we know people in that part of the world have, there's no reason why that can't be achieved, even though it's unlikely right now. And if they do surpass the amount of money that can be offered to players, which it seems like they can. And let's say they can't run out of money, which I don't think they will. Because China, I think, was a little bit of a different situation. China tried this and they got Hulk. They brought Hulk from Zenit or someone, and they brought Oscar, who's still in China, funnily enough. Do you remember, Liverpool fans, this goes for, do you remember when we nearly signed Alex Teixeira from Shakhtar? And we were heavily linked with Alex Teixeira, and then he joined China. I believe he might still be there as well. But the point is that I don't think this runs out of juice like the way China ran out of juice. And now you don't see China talking and making big signings no more, and haven't done for a good few years. And I actually believe, only because that's all I've ever seen when I've saw a country try and do this level of investment into something, it's really about if their people back it. And if people in Saudi back this, and then people across the world start to tune in because these get these big names, I do believe there's an element of possibility for sustainability, because I don't see them running out of juice. If you can't run out of juice, you can still get these big names. And if you're getting these big names and you're creating new concepts like what I've saw ideas like, like the way in NBA, they do like an all-star match at the end of the season. If Saudi did that and created something different, like the way YouTube boxing is different to actual boxing, it could adhere to a different audience. And then, you'd even see the thing that Gerard Piqué is doing. I think it's the 7-a-side thing where he gets like Ronaldinho to play in the league and stuff like that. People would, how many views did that get? He got loads of views because he's getting the old school cool names like Kante and Ronaldinho, and then he'll even get some of the present ballers and add them into the league. So then you think about all that, but then you go back to that Saudi league and you're thinking, okay, if all these players then join there, that's going to be very interesting as well. And then if all these players create an 11 of what could, say if Marcelo went from Olympiacos to now what would be Al Nassr, people wouldn't care that he's finished. But the Saudi league could set it up that way to where that would be the starting 11 against this starting 11. That's a big, big game. That's just the way it is. And all these players are making a lot of money and they're actually competing for something. It might not be the highest level of competition, but they're fighting for a league, they're fighting for cup trophies, even though it's in the Saudi league. And that's why I wanted to ask the question before I started the video, is the Saudi league the new Super League? When you factor in that they can offer these players, they've just offered Kante 100 million a season. And I don't look at Kante as someone who, just because you put a shirt on Kante, people are now going to watch your team. I look at Kante as someone, if you have a good team, that's a great name to have in the team. But he's not a household name. Of course, Kante's a household name. He's a World Cup winner, but you get the point that I'm trying to make. It's not like a super... Like Benzema, I think, is a super signing. Kante now, I don't know if that's a super signing. But in that league, if they can build on a collective basis the amount of players they get like Kante, then Kante is a great signing, because now you're only increasing the value of the league. So that's why I bring up the idea of the Super League being back. And then don't be confused to see European teams be fuming. And if they see the Saudi League as a threat, and this is the bit that I kind of wanted to get to. The first part of the video was exploring, this part of the video is concern. Maybe all the teams in Europe now slightly fume to the point where they all get together and say, right, they're trying to do this. They might succeed at this. If we get together with being the big entities that we are, we can salvage the idea that we had previously. That's what I worry about, because they don't have to worry about not creating a Super League if they are the only dudes looking to create a Super League. And by them, I mean the biggest entities across Europe. But then if you get Saudi making a Super League and viewership increases and they have more resources, then you're seeing these big clubs and they're thinking to themselves, maybe we missed an opportunity there. Maybe it's time we act on it now. So I don't dispute the idea of the Super League or the European version, let's say, because now we've got different versions of the Super League. Let's talk about the European version and then the Saudi version, let's say. I think if the Saudi version starts doing well, European version gets angry. European version, as we know, if they're emotional, they're going to jump on it. And if you get angry this time, they will not care. They will not care, because they've been slowly building towards that anyway. And that's the way they're trying to do it. They are now recognising we're not going to get this football and culture across Europe to change overnight. But what we can do is get them to change over time, which is why they're going to alternate the Champions League format and slowly add in more games, like the new format that's coming in 2024, is it? Or 2025? So it's one of those where I think we need to talk about these things, and that's why I'm here on this video talking about it to y'all. But anyway, guys, smash a like if you haven't already, because, I mean, the videos do much better when you smash a like. It takes a second, and it's free, and it helps the channel. Subscribe if you haven't already. Love to you and your mothers. I intend to upload again today, because I am insane. Ugh. Peace.